Welcome to The Badge Tells. Ever wonder what truly happens after the sirens fade? What stories linger in the silence long after the chaos is gone? Tonight, we delve into one of those stories. I didn't know I was going to die that night, but I felt it. Not the rushing heart kind of feeling, the quiet kind, the kind that sits in your chest and doesn't let go. I've been a cop for most of my life, long enough to recognize fear and instinct, long enough to know when the night ahead isn't going to end the way it started. That night started like most do, slow, quiet, too quiet. The quiet kind of night that unsettles you, like every creature is just waiting. I glanced at the clock on the dash. Late. Past the time that I told myself I'd be home. I sighed, rolled back in my seat, made the promise I had made too many times before. Just one more call. I didn't realize it then, but that would be the call that followed me home, for the rest of my life.
People think you remember the loud ones, the sirens blaring, calls full of shouting, angry words, violent screams. They're not what you remember. We remember the quiet ones. I remember a welfare check on an elderly woman once. Her son hadn't heard from her in a week. We knocked, no answer. We called out nothing. The silence from inside that house was heavier than any shout I've ever heard. In the loud calls, the danger is obvious. It's in your face. In the quiet ones, the danger has already passed, and you're left to walk through the wreckage it left behind. The silence is a vacuum, and your imagination rushes to fill it with the worst possibilities. That's the kind of quiet that sticks to your ribs. Silence amplified by the radio crackling once more. A routine call, nothing urgent, no danger reported. At least, that's what the dispatcher said. I didn't bother rushing, didn't flash my lights, didn't feel any urgency to get there faster. Should have listened to that feeling, learned my lesson. Lesson number 1. Rain hit softly against the windshield as I drove, streetlights smeared into long pools of yellow as I passed them. Everything looked calm, peaceful. Driving that street in that rain, in my squad car, it felt safe. But safety is an illusion most nights. I remember thinking about home, the couch I wouldn't jump on when I got there. How wonderful it would feel to just sit down and not pause to listen for the radio. I considered turning back. Hell, I tell myself that now. Had the presence of mind to turn back, but continued on anyway. The address grew nearer and I swallowed hard. Same street, same home, same porch light on. I had been there before many years ago, different call, different people. But some streets remember, things we pretend they don't. I parked down the street and left my lights on. Old habits kept me safe, comforted me. The radio went silent, and that feeling crept back into my bones, heavy, thick, silencing even the sound of my own breath. I sat there for longer than I should have admit, hands gripping the wheel, just waiting. No one ever talks about the waiting, when you know something is happening, but on the radio nothing is. I got out of the car. Cold air greeted me, damp pavement. Rain smelled like metal tonight. I hovered my hand near the radio mic. I don't know why I didn't put my finger on it, why I waited. Walking up the cracked driveway, I noticed the porch light flicker. Pause, flickered again. I stopped. My entire body was telling me something was wrong. Experience can quiet those instincts, though. Keep telling yourself you're just imagining things. You've handled worse situations before. It's how the passage of time fools you. Small changes over a long period. Instead of a punch in the gut right away. I knocked on the door, no answer. I knocked again. It was then I heard him, breathing, soft and ragged, weary, the occupant on the other side of that door. I called out calmly, professional, my voice barely above a whisper. Police. There was no response. That's when I knew. That feeling inside my bones confirmed it. The breathing stopped. Silence louder than before. Something wasn't right. The door creaked open slowly. I won't go into detail about what I saw. Let's just agree it was graphic, violent. Truth is, I saw a man. Faces from calls like these stick with you because they're human, mere humans, and nothing human will ever truly leave you. I did my job that night, rid off protocol, helped who I could, made it home to tell the story, just survived. A lot of people ask me the same question after I tell them. Did you save them? The question itself is wrong. Instead, we should be asking, what did it cost you? See, I left that house different that night, not immediately, but over time. Slow corrosion. Life starts to leak out of you when you ignore it. That slow corrosion. It's a quiet thief. It doesn't announce itself. It started with small things. I'd come home and walk the perimeter of my own house before going inside, checking windows, testing the lock on the front door. My wife would be waiting, dinner getting cold, and I couldn't explain why I felt safer on the outside looking in. The job used to be a calling. It became just a post I had to guard. Conversations at home became minefields. She'd ask about my day, and I'd give her the sanitized version. The traffic stops, the paperwork. How do you share the image of a life violently ended? You don't. You swallow it. And every time you do, it eats a little piece of you. The silence at the dinner table grew louder than any siren. I was there, but I wasn't, a ghost in my own home. I went home that night and continued on the job. More years than I should have, patrolled the same streets, but something inside me had cracked. Night after night I fell into the same routine. People say so much, later. I'll see you later. I'll call you later. I'll sleep tomorrow. I'm too busy right now. They lied. The world didn't end when I slowed down. Later is a cop-out, an excuse for procrastination. We believe there will be a tomorrow, so we say later. That night taught me there isn't always a tomorrow. I started coming home earlier than I used to, sat in my car longer once I pulled into the driveway, just listening to the silence, my breath, to waking up that night, to still being there, living to see another day. I took notice of a lot after that night. Sunsets I used to ignore, empty roads, how a house creaks at night when everyone is settling in. I realized how much life I rushed through, thinking I'd take my time later. After I finally turned in my badge, I had to learn how to live without the constant hum of the radio in the background. It was unsettling. For the first few months, I'd wake up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, thinking I'd missed a call. The silence of civilian life was deafening, but slowly I started to fill it, not with noise but with presence. I learned to listen to the sound of my wife's breathing as she slept beside me, a sound I had taken for granted for years. I sat on the porch and just watched the world go by, without scanning for threats. I learned that now is all we have. Later is a promise the universe doesn't have to keep. My later is filled with quiet mornings, long walks, and the peace that comes from knowing I don't have to answer the next call. I'm finally living the life I kept putting off. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night now. Not because of nightmares, in silence, dead silence. The same kind of silence that swallowed me whole on that porch. When you hear nothing, your brain wants to fill the silence. asks questions. What if? What if I turned around? What if I got there sooner? What if I listened to that feeling inside my chest? What if I had told the dispatcher to send backup before I even put the car in park? What if I'd kicked the door in instead of knocking politely? Would those few seconds have mattered? What if I had just been a little faster, a little smarter, a little braver? They don't have answers, but they echo just the same.
I'm not telling you this for your pity. God knows I don't need your praise either. But someone out there listening right now is making the same mistake, thinking there's more time, thinking their next call doesn't matter, thinking they can wait until later. Trust me, there is no later. Calls you forget, calls that haunt your dreams. But then there are the ones that follow you home, sleep in the back of your mind. On nights like tonight, they wait, patient. That call is why I'm telling you this story. It visits me occasionally at night, and if it's here again, haunting my pillow, there's a good chance it isn't here for me. It's trying to warn you. Thank you for listening to The Badge Tells. If you found this story compelling, please like, comment, and subscribe for more tales from behind the badge.